Today, I'll be designing every zodiac sign as if they were fairies from the Winx universe. And I actually managed to do it, guys. I managed to draw all 12 zodiac signs, so there won't be a part 2 to this video because all 12 of them will be in this video. In terms of their designs, just so you guys know beforehand, I've picked out some inspirations from their traits, personality quirks, vibes, and mixing that with some good old Enchantrix aesthetic, plus just what I personally think looks good. And to make it more fun and slightly relevant, we'll pretend that there's a whole arc in the Winx universe where the original girls will meet each one of these zodiac fairies, kind of like side quests where they each will bond with someone new and learn something unexpected about themselves. Anyways, now that that's all settled, let's start off with the earth signs. Before we start, I just want to let you guys know that I found a color palette in Pinterest that I use as inspirations for the actual coloring of these characters. I didn't use it kind of like all the time, but I did keep it in mind as well. So if you guys see some colors here and there, that is partly from that Pinterest photo. Anyways, we're starting off with Taurus, who is the fairy of harvest, which literally just fits. Honestly, like imagine this chill, grounded fairy who literally just grows food you can eat and looks fab doing it. So I based her off the carabao, which is kind of like the horse of buffaloes used in a lot of Southeast Asian farming. And I think they're especially used for preparing the land for the crops, and they're super strong, super loyal, and really connected to the land. And design-wise, I imagined her dress to be kind of like a pumpkin shape, not really Halloween vibes, not really a Halloween costume kind of thing, but more like an autumn harvest kind of vibe. So lots of orange tones, big leafy shapes, vines wrapped around her arms and legs, and of course, I'll add a bit of sparkle in there. All of the characters will have sparkles on them because Winx can't be Winx without the sparkles. And I didn't want the pumpkin to drown her in the design, so you could see that it's very, very subtle. The top half of her clothes are fairly kind of like corduroy type material with leaves all across kind of like the chest area and the waist. And the skirt is the one that's kind of like a pumpkin shaped. And in terms of the fairies that would meet her, I feel like Flora and Tecna would be the ones who would defo meet her. Flora obviously being the plant girl, meets another plant girl, and then this brings out kind of like a different side of nature to her, because in the series we don't really see the farming food side of nature when it comes to Flora, so this will bring that out of her. And then for Tecna, I just love the idea of her learning about how modern farming works with machines and stuff, kind of like adding the science side of growing stuff. I think the both of them would walk away from this episode with Taurus learning about something real. Flora connects deeper with the earth in a more hands-on way, and Tecna starts appreciating the nature beyond screens and code. Next up is Virgo, and she is the fairy of confectionery. So these would be things like sweets, cupcakes, chocolate cakes, all of those good things. And the reason why I chose this is because of perfectionism. Chefs, especially pastry chefs, I find are the most detailed, oriented, and obsessed people in the world. You mess up 1 degree, one aspect of your ingredient, and then the whole kind of recipe falls. So I thought that Virgo, being a chef, kind of goes hand in hand, and I went for a more deconstructed chef kind of outfit here. So it's not like a full-on hat and apron because that design bores me. So I wanted to go for something a bit more sleek, a bit more clean in terms of the silhouette. So you could see in here, a little bit later on, you would see that I gave her this cute mini apron around her waist, tidy lines, and she's kind of like giving a well put together kind of vibe. And when I said a deconstructed chef outfit, look at her outfit now, right? So the top half reminds me of the kind of usual white type of polo tops that chefs typically wear, except I cropped it and I gave it these kind of bands across her stomach, abdomen area, and across her like arms as well. Those are, I'm not sure what they're called, but when you're straining your muscles a lot, you wear these kind of bands. I wanted that, but a bit more fashionable. Makes more sense for like a fairy, I suppose. And I gave her these kind of flared bottom trousers because I thought that looked really cool. Now the Winx Fairies that I think would suit an episode with Virgo would definitely be Bloom and Stella. kind of like chaos meets order kind of episode, because if you think about it, Bloom and Stella are quite, the word I want to use is impulsive. Because if you think about it, right, Bloom tends to rush into things with her emotions. She doesn't really tend to strategize. And Stella, she makes decisions based on vibes. And the thing is, Virgo is completely the opposite. Virgo is all about patience, precision, and seeing things through, strategizing, because, you know, Virgos are super smart people. And I feel like if Virgo was a fairy in this universe, she would teach those two girls, those two princesses who are going to be queens one day, to slow down and care about the tiny details, which is kind of necessary when, you know, they're going to rule the kingdom one day. But yeah, I feel like out of all the zodiac signs, Virgo would definitely be a very, very good teacher for both Bloom and Stella to become the queens that they need to be for their kingdoms. Alright, so the last of the earth signs, we've got Capricorn, and she is the fairy of hidden knowledge. And just like Virgos, Capricorns are actually really, really smart people, but they're the quiet, smart type of people. So I want you guys to imagine this with me. You're in a classroom and there's these two students that always compete for the answers. They're always the type of students that will have their hands up and seems like they know the answer. Well, Capricorn is not one of those students. They probably know the answer, they're probably way ahead, but they will never say anything in class. They will not be the people to like put their hands up or anything. And that's what I mean by they are secretly smart people. And I wanted that trait to be reflected in their fairy version as well, because to be completely honest, the main 6 girls that we have in the Winx universe, they're all, let's be honest, they're all extroverted, you know? All of their outfits are very out there, they're very flashy, very glittery, and I did say earlier that I was going to keep all of the glitters in all the zodiac signs. Don't worry, Capricorn will have glitters, don't worry. But instead of having the kind of typical Winx outfit, I want her to be a bit more different. So she will have this really long dark robe. She's wearing like these leggings or trousers underneath it, but she will have this really long robe, giving her like Harry Potter vibes. Also, I've never watched Harry Potter, so I'm hoping that they actually wear robes in there. And the most interesting part of her is actually that really big hat that covers half her face. She will be the only fairy in the zodiac sign that will have a part of her face covered. It's because to me, I think Capricorns are quite mysterious. Like if you don't know who they are as a person, it's really, really hard to read them, because they're not introverted, they're not extroverted, they're quite good in social situations, yet they're very conservative. So I wanted that to reflect on the zodiac sign as well. In a way, I kind of wanted her to look like this very chic, fashionable, very mysterious librarian. And I feel like the fairies that should be with her in an episode would be Bloom and Tecna, because they're both seekers, they're both curious about things. And out of all the girls in the group, the 2 of them were the ones that are actually kind of wanting to understand things. So maybe there would be an episode where the 3 of them would go on this quest to find, I don't know, some ancient spell or uncover a certain hidden truth. And you know, Capricorn would have probably known where the things are, where to find things, or would have uncovered the truth in like a second. But she wouldn't tell the girls immediately. She would just kind of sit there and make them do things. And I feel like the moral of this episode won't be about, oh, I've learned something new, but rather Capricorn showing Bloom and Tecna to keep their curiosity, to always question things, because even though some people say curiosity kills the cat, for them, it's a strength. Now we're moving on to the air signs, starting off with Libra, the fairy of balance. So the symbol associated with Libra are these justice scales, and those remind me of balance and full-on yin and yang kind of vibe. And that reminded me of Kung Fu Panda, believe it or not. It sounds really strange, but that's what it reminded me of. And the reason for that is because when it comes to balance, I remembered when I was watching Kung Fu Panda, they spoke about balance all the time in there, especially in the later films, because apparently pandas symbolize or represent balance because of black and white and stuff. But the thing is, I didn't want her to look like a panda. Now that's way too obvious. I want something a bit more, I don't know, unique. So I thought instead of basing her off a panda, let's base her off the food the panda eats. Bamboo, you know. She will still have a panda. I don't know why, I just thought it looked really cute, so you guys could see me draw a panda plushie right now. But to be fair, now that I'm thinking about it, it wouldn't be bad having a panda themed fairy now that I'm looking at it. But anyways, we can't go back in time, we'll just move forward in here. And what you guys could see me do for her dress, right, it's actually like a bamboo type of dress. Like literally her dress is shaped in these segmented layers that looks like the stalks of bamboo. And all of them later on you would see in the colouring part that they would be kind of soft greens, neutral colours, maybe a hint of yellow here and there. You guys could also see me make her wings right now, and it's kind of like, it looks like a bamboo that's kind of bent in a way to make a bow shape. And the reason why I draw the wings first is because I need them to be behind the character, and I feel like I should base the character off their wings. So you guys will see me later on as well. In all of the designs I make, I usually draw the wings first. And you know what, now that I'm colouring her, she looks a bit like Mau Mau from Apothecary Diaries. I did not mean to do that, but you know, it works. And in terms of the Winx character that would meet her, or that needs to meet her, would definitely be Musa. Musa has such an emotional roller coaster with her mum, her dad, her love life, and I feel like Libra, being the fairy of balance, will help her center herself again. Not just emotionally, but in the way she expresses herself as well. She would show Musa how to find strength in calm and balance, not just sound. This in turn will make her a bit more of a well-rounded character when she's older. Next up is Gemini, and she will be the fairy of colors. And the reason for this is because you know how Geminis are known to have, I guess, two-faced, not in a mean way, but in a zodiac sign kind of way. They are literally twins. They have literally two-faced. And I feel like in a sense of character, Geminis tend to be very ever-changing type characters. And out of all the zodiac signs, I find that Geminis tend to be the most adaptable, the most resourceful, and that reminded me of chameleons. So for chameleons, they blend into their environment, they change their color, and that's kind of how Gemini energy works. They're always shifting, always adapting. So that's what I wanted to base her character on. I feel like she would definitely be a really good spy. Not literally though, but perhaps she's a type of fairy that specializes in stealth. And I feel like she would have more physical skills over magic. So think of it as fast movement, sharp thinking, adapting on the go. Which is why for such a physical type fairy, I needed her clothes to be less loose, otherwise that might be a safety hazard. So I gave her this kind of crop top, and she will have this kind of like rainbow band across her chest. She will have like a band around her waist as well. It would look like a skirt, but it's not a skirt, it's a rainbow band, and she will have shorts underneath that. And I feel like these rainbow elements on her clothes will help her blend a bit more in her environment as well. I don't know, I just thought it would look really, really cool for Gemini. Her main color palette is definitely green because that's the color for Gemini, but I've also added some rainbow elements onto that as well. So out of all the zodiac signs, she's definitely the most colorful. And I feel like Ayesha would definitely gain so much from her, because Ayesha's powers is all about, I think it's called Morphix or something like that. It's that pink kind of malleable material that she uses in the first couple of seasons and stuff. Her powers is all about morphing and shifting shapes. Now imagine how far that skill could go when she's with someone who's basically a living chameleon. Because not only can Gemini blend into her environment, she can also change her appearance like scarily well. So I feel like for Gemini, she would definitely teach Ayesha to be a bit more creative with her morphics, a bit more adaptable and a bit more resourceful as well when she's perhaps running out of power. And maybe at some point she might be able to teach Ayesha how to use the morphics on herself so she can also blend in whenever she needs to. Alright, so the last of the air signs, we've got Aquarius, the fairy of night. Now I spoke about this a lot in the past already, but Aquarius tends to be a bit more introverted. And I don't mean in a way where they are shy, because Aquarius are not shy people, but I mean in a way that they're a bit more conserved with themselves. They're a bit more hidden from the world because they don't really value attention that much. And I feel like those kind of personality traits would suit someone who works in the night a bit more. And speaking of the night, the original idea I had for Aquarius's outfit was supposed to be a nightgown, but to be completely honest, when I saw that design in my head, I didn't really like it too much. I didn't really think that it was the Aquarius vibe, because out of all the zodiac signs, Aquarius are also known to be the most unique, so I need to give her a certain outfit that makes her stand out quite a lot. So I did give her, just for the sake of my original idea, I gave her this kind of nightgown looking thing for her top. So it's kind of like a bell sleeve polo top in a way, but her trousers are these sheer trousers, and underneath are a pair of like short shorts. You guys will see in just a second how I colored in the trousers. They look very, very dreamy and sparkly. And you guys might have guessed it, but I feel like the Winx Fairy that would definitely clash with Aquarius would be Stella. And it's because Aquarius tends to be quiet and thoughtful, while Stella, well, you know, she's a ray of sunshine. But that's why Stella needs Aquarius, because Stella is not just the princess of the sun, she's the princess of the sun and moon. So Aquarius will help her connect to the other half of herself. And a lot of the magic spells that Stella knows and we can see are sun related, so learning from Aquarius being the fairy of night would definitely help her resonate with her, I think it's her mum's side of the magic. And Aquarius will teach Stella how to be in touch with that side of her magic, that there's a lot to learn from her night side. Moving on to the water signs, we're going to start off with Scorpio, the fairy of poison. We all know that Scorpios are known to be smart, to be sharp, and she definitely knows what she's doing. But I also feel like Scorpios tend to live life on the edge, and what's more life on the edge than dealing with poisons? And as I said earlier, Scorpios are really smart. You know, there won't be anyone smarter and take the risk in dealing with poisons than someone like Scorpio. And of course, because their symbol is the scorpion, I feel like it just makes sense. But to me, I was a bit hesitant about it at first, just because poison doesn't really seem like a good fairy kind of vibe. That seems more like a witch kind of thing. I mean, for example, if you have too much of a certain type of medicine, that could end you. But at the same time, little bits of certain poisons won't actually kill you. And in certain cases, small doses of a certain compound in a poisonous plant can actually help you. So I think Scorpios, you know, being smart, they will find the balance in that. They would know how to use poisons and antidotes as well, so I wouldn't be too worried about it. And in terms of her design, I wanted to really put that poison aspect onto her, so you could see that her dress is this kind of like ruffled up material that looks like it's melting off of her. Not in a gross way, but I guess it's sort of a liquid silk or something, or like dripping magic, something really dramatic like that. And I've put that feature all across her design, so she has that as her stockings, she has that as her gloves, and you would see later on that her color palette is quite dark for a fairy, but that's okay because it's Scorpio. Scorpios are very precise type of people, so I pictured her to be a master of potions. So she deals with both poison and antidotes. Like if you're going to make something lethal, you might as well know how to fix it, and that's the kind of mindset that Scorpios will definitely have. And I feel like Flora would 100% learn from her. Flora is all about plants, but she usually sticks to the safe side, and meeting Scorpio would definitely push her to learn the darker parts of nature, which is important because you can't heal things if you don't know what you're actually trying to cure. So I feel like Scorpio would help her with that kind of side of healing magic. Next up is Cancer, and she is the fairy of shores. And the reason why I chose this is because the symbol for Cancer is typically a crab, which I typically find on the shores, like where the sand is. I know that there are a lot of different crabs out there, and some of them are stuck into the ocean. I know. But for the sake of this video, we're gonna focus on the sand land crabs. And the way I wanted her design to look like is basically something super beachy, you know, soft blues, pale pink, sandy yellows, and you can see right now that her hair is actually very flowy, kind of like waves, and I wanted her to feel like she is the beach. And not gonna lie, she is definitely one of my most favorite designs out of all the zodiac signs. I'm not even a Cancer, and my favorite design is literally her. And you guys could see that I gave her that Ariel shell bra because why not? But she's actually wearing like a bodycon swimsuit underneath it. But then I wanted to kind of give her, I guess, jellyfish vibes as well. So the materials right in front of her, like torso and upper waist, is kind of like this sheer material. And my favorite part about her is actually these pair of wings. Look at them. They kind of look like these shores, like a beach shore. And you can see the water, like tides going in them, if that makes sense. An episode with Cancer would definitely be high-key environmentally related. Like, imagine the oceans in trouble, pollution, plastic, dying coral, and Cancer's been trying to help, but it's of course too big for her to try and do all by herself. So Ayesha, Tekna, and Flora will all show up and help her clear up the ocean. I mean, Ayesha came from the ocean, so she would definitely be very passionate about this kind of project. And Tekna could basically use her skills to build machines to help clear up. And Flora, she knows all about the marine plants, so in a way, all three of them can help in 3 different types of levels. And at the center of that, Cancer will be there to remind all 3 of them that saving the world isn't just about defeating evil wizards. It's also about caring for the world that's around them. Alright, so the last of the water signs, we've got Pisces, the fairy of gems. And the reason why I chose this is because Pisces tend to be very spiritual individuals. They're definitely the type of people that believe in the effects of certain crystals, and I feel like that's such an interesting concept to have in a fairy. And I definitely wanted their Winx Fairy character to look very dreamy and in a way almost quite ethereal. And I really wanted to incorporate the crystals onto her outfit as well, which is why you could see that her kind of top is kind of like a crystal type bralette. And then for her skirt, I tried to make it look like a row of crystals. And then for the rest of her outfit, I gave it like this really sheer long sleeve type of top, and I also gave her these stockings that are also somewhat sheer. Now the main color palettes for Pisces are often blue or purple, so I wanted to incorporate that kind of coloring into her design as well. And to be completely fair, blue and purple crystals are the most aesthetically pleasing to me. I really do like amethyst crystals, so I would definitely incorporate that. But the thing is, I'm not very knowledgeable in the crystal gem kind of things, so I wanted to really give her these blue or cyan type crystals. Not sure if they exist in real life because I didn't really Google anything for this. So just because the kind of main color palette for Pisces is blue/cyan, those are the kind of crystals I incorporated into her design, and you can see how I'm designing her wings right now as well. They're kind of like blue/cyan. And I think Tekna and Stella would definitely be very confused at her at first. They're both kind of practical in their own way. They're not very spiritual people either. I mean, out of all of the characters in like the main 6 of the Winx Club, those 2 are the least spiritual, I would believe. So putting them in an episode with someone who's the complete opposite of their beliefs would definitely be a very good character development for them. And in a way, Pisces would definitely open their minds and show them that there's more to magic than just logic and fashion, that certain other things do matter, like spirits and being in touch with your spiritual side would matter. Now let's move on to the last signs we've got, which would be the fire signs, starting off with Sagittarius, the fairy of archery. I know that it's not very original, but listen, it fits, alright? It sounds very lazy, but I was getting tired at this point. I've drawn like, I don't know, 9 or 10 different signs already, and I was getting carpal tunnel from drawing constantly. So forgive me for this, alright? But archery isn't just about hitting a target, it's also about focus and intention and precision as well, which all describes how Sagittarius are as a person. So as you guys could see from this design, I gave it this really beautiful long flowing hair that's in a sort of half bun, and I tied a piece of, like, you guys will see a bit later on, it's a sheer type material. I just thought it would give her this kind of goddess type look. I gave her this very flow, easy to move in type of outfit, so think of soft fabrics, nothing too stiff or tight because I feel like she would need to move. She's a freedom type of fairy. And you guys might be wondering, why the hell is she holding a bow and arrow? I mean, aside from the fact that I literally named her the Fairy of Archery, it's also because that's how she cast her spells. I feel like the way she would cast spells would be about, casting them on her arrow first and then shooting them to whomever the target would be. Kind of like a spell that would activate upon contact. So it's all about multitasking, which is also something that Sagittariuses are very, very good at. And for this, I feel like Bloom and Musa would definitely click with her. Bloom, because she has this raw power, she literally has the dragon flame or whatever, and sometimes she does lack control of it, especially when she's in like a very emotional state. And Sagittarius could help her channel that fire into something sharp and accurate. And that's the same case for Musa too, I feel like she's a very passionate person, but at times she can be a bit too out of control. So someone needs to teach her and Bloom to be a bit more controlling of their feelings. And in turn, they also control their passions and control that energy. Because one thing about Sagittarius is that they don't just feel things, they do things. Like when they are passionate about something, when they want something, they are the type of people to go out and get it themselves. They literally are the type of people that turns dreams into goals and goals into reality, and I feel like that's the type of thing that Musa and Bloom would definitely need. And for Leo, she's actually going to be the Fairy of Precious Gold. And the reason why I chose this is because all the Leos I've met in my life are very vibrant people. And I know that there's a lot of Leos out there that say, oh, I'm not very social, I'm not very outgoing. That's not the point though. What I mean is that Leos just have this energy that makes them like the main character of that room. And I know that not all Leos tend to be flashy type characters. One of the Leos I know actually wears a lot of dark colors. They prefer to blend in the background, those kind of things. She doesn't really wear very brightly type colors. But the thing is, when she and our friends meet up, she is the life of the party. And that's what I mean about Leos just having that kind of energy. And I want that energy to also resonate in their fairy Winx version. Her outfit in here is a bit more unique because I wanted to blend fashion and gold together, and I wanted her to look like she is a Nepo baby because she is a Nepo baby. And for her outfit, I actually took some inspiration from things I saw at the Met Gala, at fashion shows, and their outfits could be a bit alternative and strange looking, so I wanted that for Leo as well. And as for her power, I thought of something a little bit interesting. So do you guys remember the whole story about the Midas touch? I thought that would be quite a good ability for her, a very interesting ability. So she can turn things into gold temporarily, which makes her both a fashion icon and a serious threat. She's also got these gems across her design, and I wanted to put that in because I wanted her to have some sort of connection with Pisces. I feel like those two would definitely get so along together. And for this, I really do feel like Stella would be instantly obsessed with her. Maybe a bit threatened, but mostly obsessed, because Leo is what Stella could be if she took her powers a little bit more seriously. Because Leo's not just wearing gold because it's pretty, she knows the value of what she holds. She understands the economy, the wealth, the power, and what she would do is that she would teach Stella how to use all of that privilege and sparkle for something bigger. You guys could probably see that I put a crown on Leo, and it's because Leo is an actual queen, and that's why I wanted her to be with Stella for an episode, because Stella is still a princess, and from what I could see, her mum's not really around to teach her the queen part, and I don't really think that her dad teaches her the ruling part of being a princess either. So Leo would definitely be the one to fill that role and teach Stella that when she's a queen, she has to think more than just gold. And finally, we've got Aries, the Fairy of Victory. And it's not just winning for the sake of winning, but also, in a sense, she works hard for it. Because in my opinion, I believe that Aries is the most competitive out of all the signs. When they try hard. And in a way, I wanted the fairy version of Aries to go all out, like not just thinking of something, they pour their heart, soul and body into the things that they believe in, not just talking about it, they're actually doing it. Which also resonates and represents what they are as people in real life. So what I've done for her actually is, this is the only sign I realized where I actually put an element of the sign onto the actual person. And what I mean by that is I gave her these ram horns, because I think that Aries are supposed to be represented by the ram, right? So I actually did give her these ram-like horns on her character, and I think that's the only time I've actually done that to a character. And I gave her these loose, slightly Roman-inspired outfit that lets her move around, you know, fight, run, whatever she needs. And in a way, kind of like Sagittarius, I wanted her to look quite like a god, you know, like a goddess. See later on in the colouring stage that I gave her these kind of golden bands around her arms, around her legs. And that's actually one of my most favourite part about this character. It kind of gives her that warrior fairy vibe without making her look like a full gladiator. I was actually thinking about that, like turning her into a gladiator, but I didn't really think that suited the fairy vibe. So I wanted to go for something a bit more subtle. And like I said, she's definitely competitive, but in a way that uplifts people around her instead of her directly headbutting against other people. And she would definitely have a strong impact on people like Flora and Bloom. For Bloom, I feel like it's because she gets too caught up in the pressure of being the chosen one at times. So Aries would remind her that strength doesn't mean perfection. It means showing up, and sometimes it could even get messy. And keeping your head clear when the world's on fire is one of the best traits you can have, especially for someone who's going to be a future queen. And for Flora, she definitely does need a push. Aries would basically drag her out of the background and push her to be at least somewhat competitive, because Flora is smart, she is capable, and she can be strong. But the thing is, sometimes she fades in the background. So Aries would definitely teach her to get out of her comfort zone and try to compete. So that's all I have for today. I hope you guys really enjoyed this, because I am so tired right now. Again, this is the first time I've actually drawn all 12 zodiac signs in one go under one video. And this is just because I wanted you guys to enjoy the full thing without having to wait for a part 2, because I can understand that's a bit frustrating. Also, I didn't get to name the fairies, so if you guys have any name suggestions, put them in the comments down below and we'll all have a look at them together. And as usual, make sure you like and subscribe for more videos like these in the future, and I'll see you all next Mango Monday. Bye!